I, 29F, withdrew wife privileges from my boyfriend, 31M, because he won't propose. My 29M boyfriend, 31M, have been together for 7 years now. I had voiced that I wanted to be engaged before the 4-year mark. He agreed at the time. When we were half a year from reaching our 4th-year anniversary, I had revisited the topic of marriage and told him I was expecting to get married. He was finishing up his master's program at the time and said he wanted to get out of student debt again and get his finances in order. I bit my tongue and understood that we are partners and I can try to meet him halfway. He earns good money and we already moved in together 2 years into our relationship, and did long distance when he was in his master's program. My job is remote, so I moved into his hometown 3 hours away from the OG. I have been seeing all my friends and cousins get married and it's hard to feel happy on such a joyous occasion when your ring finger feels so empty and everyone starts asking you. Lately, my partner has been thriving in work and enjoying his new life, and it's almost as if he forgot about our personal goals. When I initiated a discussion again, I could sense he was dragging his feet. He didn't have enough money for a ring or savings for a wedding when he would very well buy the motorbike he always wanted since he was kid. He said our life is good as is. Why do we need a stamp of validation from the world? You are on your one health insurance, so what's the point? Quote, all of this just left me heartbroken. Why don't I deserve to be his wife? After being his GF for so long? Does he not love me enough to make a romantic gesture for me? Choosing me over his useless bike? I talked to my sister who got engaged 2 years into her relationship and her approach was simple yet effective. She told me to withdraw all wife privileges from him until I get that title. That he has to earn me not cleaning and cooking for him, moving out, not pay for his expenses, sometimes stuff like that. My boyfriend got mad because I didn't renew our lease with him, and told me that's a very poor way of handling things and we need this constant in our life to preserve that intimacy, telling me that's the kind of precedent I am setting up for our eventual marriage. I have been a wife for you without the title. I gave myself completely to you, only to expect you to do this one thing for me. I've waited long enough. I don't really believe in ultimatums, so I am not going to force your hand. I am simply acting as your girlfriend now. If you really want our relationship to go back to what it was, you better give me an upgrade. What's the correct way of handling this? Edit. To all the dense folks asking me why don't I just propose, I have something to say. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Some people like things to be traditional and he and I are certainly that. There's nothing wrong with wanting that. In our culture, in 2023, in hetero relationships, a woman making comments about being ready to marry, wanting to get engaged is her proposal. Then it's up to the man to either accept by proposing formally, or decline by not proposing. And at that stage the woman proposing is embarrassing herself by doing it tbh. It's just a dumb gotcha, where people like to play faux dumb and scratch their heads at how daft cultural norms are and like to pretend that things have evolved to be how they wish them to be in the future. Similar to the fake disingenuous, wait, you've discussed marriage and both said you want it. Surely that means you're engaged? Why are you waiting for a ring? He probably doesn't even realize you need one. You're engaged. Just book a venue? Which pretends that proposals don't actually exist as a way of formally asking for marriage, instead of merely expressing positive feelings towards the idea. Break up. He doesn't want to get married. By your logic in your edit, your boyfriend has rejected your proposal by not proposing. So, I think you have your answer there. Will you genuinely be happy if he decides to propose now, especially after you've pressured the situation? knowing that he never truly wanted to in the first place? Do you really want to marry someone who's only willing to even consider it so you'll start doing his chores and paying his bills again? Just break up and find a guy who's actually enthusiastic about the idea instead of continuing to argue with this one about why he should care. IDK why you want to hear he doesn't want to marry you. Honestly, if he wanted to marry you, he would have proposed by now. I'm going to say some things that are going to hurt. He doesn't see himself getting married to you. That's why he hasn't proposed. What you are doing now isn't going to help you to have a good, healthy marriage. You need to break up. The correct way of handling this is to break up. You deserve someone who is as enthusiastic about marriage as you are. Your BF is never going to be that guy. Never force someone to decide this way. No decision is a decision. Just break up with him. He doesn't want to get married, and I doubt you'll change his mind. He doesn't want to marry you. Giving him an ultimatum will only make you both resentful. You either accept your current position or keep it moving. To be fair, once in your own space, I would break up. He has made it clear he wanted you to support him in his future dreams and doesn't seem to want to reciprocate yours. I would be out. You have been crystal clear that getting married is important to you and it is not to him. In our culture, in 2023, in hetero relationships, a woman making comments about being ready to marry, wanting to get engaged is her proposal. Then it's up to the man to either accept by proposing formally, or decline by not proposing. And at that stage the woman proposing is embarrassing herself by doing it tbh. Stop embarrassing yourself and break up with him. He's made it loud and clear that he doesn't want to marry you. As long as you're still in his life, he's still going to get what he wants out of this relationship. Your occasional companionship and sex. Dump him entirely and go find a man who actually wants to marry you. Because it isn't this one. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get married, but you're only borrowing heartache and remorse for yourself by staying with a guy for 7 years who has no interest or intent in marrying you. He knows what you're asking. He doesn't need convincing. There's no magic words to get him to understand. His answer is clear as day. No. You need to decide if staying with him and never getting married is acceptable to you. If it is, great. But stop pining about being married and just accept that this is what your relationship is going to be. If it isn't, say goodbye and go find someone who actively does want to get married. Stop wasting both of your time. I understand the separation, but why don't you just break up then and find someone who actually has the same life goals you do? It is apparent your BF does not. He's free to find someone himself that shares his mindset. You answered it yourself. It's up to the man to accept by proposing or decline by not proposing. And here you are, not accepting his choice. Time to wake up and smell the friendship roses. Not cleaning and cooking for him. Moving out. Not pay for his expenses sometimes. So you were being his maid hoping he would propose? You should never do this because you should be looking for an equal partner. Not someone who is with you because you make his life easier. You also work full-time and have a graduate degree. I didn't renew our lease with him. Yeah, that was good because you cannot be stuck with him and you want to reconsider the relationship. I think you should break up. He is just with you because you make stuff easier and he is saving money by sharing rent and expenses. You should break up. It's been 4 years and he is making excuses. I think you should also reconsider what getting married is. I don't understand why you think a wife should be doing the cleaning and cooking. That's a pretty traditional way to look at things, and if you do that, You are going to get the traditional partner who is like your partner. Also, like I said, you work full-time and have a grad degree. Why would you be doing everything on top of that? Is your BF some type of king or something who needs to be served? You clearly don't want the same thing. It is better to end it and move on with your lives separately. I know your intent moving out was to push him towards you, but I think it will have the opposite effect, and he will realize the reasons he didn't propose were he didn't want to be with you. Honestly, I think it's childish, but he sucks for stringing you along. Do you really want to be married to someone who only did it because there was a shotgun aimed at his head? I would simply call it quits and find someone else. Don't wait 7 years, by the way. If he's not ready for marriage by the end of 2 years, 3 at most, it's time to move on. You set your boundaries of wanting to be married. Then you bent them for him. The fact that he agreed at first and is just now saying he doesn't think it's necessary is a dick move. Sounds like you're more of a convenience for him instead of a GF. I mean, the edit says it all. He declined your proposal. If you declined his, don't you think that would be it for the relationship? He doesn't want to marry you. Don't waste more time. If he wanted to, he would have. Take it how you will, you have waited 7 years.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.